Alright, so for this build we are going to use OCZ dual channel memory, the 6400 version, combined with the P5 NT Deluxe. This is a very good high-end mainboard from Asus back in the day. We have the possibility to have triple SLI on this mainboard, and also it has a special chipset from Nvidia itself. So this needs to be the most optimal mainboard that we can use for using SLI builds too. I'm going to remove this 8403 GHz dual core for a quad core CPU. So everything is tested, so we can unplug the mainboard and we can just go removing the CPU. And we'll show you how you need to do this with an old school mainboard, and it does apply kind of with new versions nowadays. But because of the, let's say, old revision mainboard, it was not compatible with my latest, or better said, one of the latest generation of quad core CPUs. We can still have the BIOS downloaded from the Asus website. I really think that is pretty cool that they still support, or kind of support, these old mainboards and leave the drivers online. So that is pretty cool from them. So we're also going to show you where you can find it. Alright, I think the first thing that we need to do is remove the CPU cooler, because we need to replace the little CPU. Alright, I must be honest, I have never seen a cooler like this. This is the first time I bought this mainboard complete, and I was surprised seeing this weird cooler. But what you need to do, there are clips on the side that you need to open up, and you can remove the big plastic including the fan in one go. Next thing that we need to do is remove the little feet when you need to turn them. And this is basically the same how it goes with the original coolers, only I can tell you it goes a little bit more difficult with this version. I think they have been connected with the mainboard for a very long time now, so I will try to be very gentle not to destroy something, otherwise I can't use the CPU cooler anymore and I'm going to need this thing in the future. Alright, so here we have the CPU. I'm going to clean it up with a little piece of paper, because all the residue of the old cooling paste needs to be removed. When everything is cleaned up, we can just flip it open and remove the CPU. Double check if there are no pins bent, otherwise you will kill your mainboard and CPU the next time you upgrade. Alright, here we having the CPU. As you can see, they almost look identical, but the Q9550 will be a very good addition to this mainboard. So what we're going to do, open it up and we're going to put them in the right position. So basically there are two little gaps on the side of the CPU over there, and these need to be aligned with the mainboard. And I think with the new generation it's more of the same, only on a different position. Check everything, there is no filt on the pins or on the CPU contacts, and you can just put them in here. Be very gentle, don't move it too around, otherwise you will kill the pins and bend them. Alright, so that's it. You can lock it up and you are done. Alright, so let's clean it up a little bit extra, because we need to remove all the old residue. And the same applies to the old cooler that we're using, because we need to have the best contact for the best cooling. The quad core was very clean, but this thing, oh my god, there's so much old residue on it, and sometimes it's very hard to get off. And as you can see, there's a lot of filth on my little piece of paper. And yes, it's toilet paper, because it cleans very well. Alright, so what we're going to do, use the original CPU cooler. Getting it back on is way easier. I cleaned it a little bit, so everything is ready to use for many years to come. Alright, it's a very strange way how you need to assemble it. Never seen this before, but it's a very nice way Cooler Master did this. Alright, everything is clean as you can see. The feet are in the right position, so let's put the CPU cooler on. There are many ways how you go add the little cooling paste. You can make a dot. That is one of the ways you can do so. And with the cooling paste, I really love to do it like this. Just put them over all the CPU, a very thin layer. I really like this cooling paste simply because it's very thin. Because with the thick cooling paste, it's always a little bit hard to... Oh my god, I'm making a mess of it, but I will clean it up a little bit later. But as you can see, this is more like the idea what I'm going to get with this. I don't want to have a lot of the stuff on my hands, because it's also very hard to get off your hands. Ugh. But nevertheless, when you're done, clean it all up, because we don't need to have some cooling paste over here. And when everything is done, we are ready to put the CPU cooler on it. For this cooler, it's very important that I'm going to put it on the right position, simply due of the fan. And I just realized there's still a little bit of dust between the fins. Yeah, I cleaned it up very thorough. Alright, so what we need to do, we're going to push it like an original CPU. Be very gentle. And when you're done, the CPU cooler is fitted on the main board. You can always double check on the bottom if everything is fitted correctly. Alright, so it's time to put the cooler back on. There are a couple of things you need to take in consideration. First of all, it depends of course what kind of CPU cooler you're having. There are quite some different methods how you need to put it on. This is a very easy way, it's just slide and go. And of course keep in mind that you need to have enough length of your cable for the CPU. And put it of course in the right position, because the previous owner didn't put it in the CPU fan connection and I got a freaking error every single time I boot it up. Alright, so what you need to do, and here I'm going to give you a little overview, that you need to check if every pin is connected to the main board, otherwise you will not have the optimal cooling for your CPU. Okay, so we're done with the CPU and the upgrade. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to put the memory back in, because we're going to rebuild the main board. We're going to boot it up and see if the upgrade has been successful. Don't mind my test bench, this is just my first test that I'm going to make. So I just use a box for putting the main board in position. In the future I will try to get a nice test bench for all my main boards. Right, I'm using a Handkey 900 watts power supply at the moment. So the reason why, because I wanted to do some SLI upgrades in the future. It will not be in triple SLI because I need to have a better power supply for that. Because having 3 old game cards, that will consume a lot of energy. Alright, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to put all the SATA connections back in, because we have the SSD that I'm using for this build. Okay, so for this video, just going to use the 8800 GTX 320 MB that I have laying around. I must say that I will make some more testing videos of this particular card in the future. Don't forget to connect the extra power, otherwise this thing will make a lot of noise. And of course it doesn't boot up. So everything is connected and we are ready to go. Okay, so this is the first time booting it up, and I actually did this with recording the camera. I just want to do this together with you in this video. And as you can see, it's still alive, my P5NT Deluxe mainboard, but we're going to get this error message. Alright, so he is going to reboot the mainboard and try to search the compatible list and to reconfigure the CPU that is added in the mainboard. What you can see over here, that it says that the CPU is not compatible. You need to update your BIOS, and if you even boot it up, it will not unlock the full potential, or better said, it will downgrade the CPU and it will not be really a great upgrade. In case like this, Google is your best friend. So what we're going to do is search on the kind of mainboard that we are using and what we're going to need. And as you can see, we have already found the mainboard and everything we needed here on the ASUS website. Man, it's so convenient that it brings you to exactly the page that we need to have. Okay, we need to choose Windows 7 64-bit, that's what we're going to use. Of course, if you're having 32-bit, you need to choose that, but it's not really important because all the BIOS files will be the same. And as you can see, there are no drivers over here. This part I'm going to use my Oldschool Sweex 256 MB USB 2.0 thumb drive. Okay, the next thing we need to do is unzip the files. And when you have unzipped them, we're going to copy paste them just straight on the root of the thumb drive so we can upgrade our BIOS. Alright, so we're going to use the Easy Flash from ASUS itself. It's located in the main board, and as you can see, it's now scanning all drives. I'm very happy that I don't need to use a floppy drive for this one. And as you can see, it will see my new version. Press enter on the keyboard and it will recognize, or maybe not recognize, the BIOS file. It of course will need to check it first. And we can see that with the current ROM and update ROM, we're having quite some differences over here. For example, if you check the date, the old BIOS is from 2008 and the new from 2010. Okay, take in consideration when you're going to update your BIOS, it's very important that you will not interfere it, so powering off, rebooted will kill your mainboard. I know for the latest mainboards we're having so many new options like dual boot and you name it, there are so many ways that prevent happening this. But with this old stuff, man, be careful, because you're only having one shot at this. Alright, so when it's done, it will verify the ROM and check if everything is updated correctly. It will boot the mainboard again and we're done. So the mainboard has been rebooted, so everything is working. We're going to get the boot up sequence and we will see that it will boot in Windows 7, and if you're going to get a message from the BIOS itself, it will not give us the error anymore. Okay, so that's all folks. This is the upgrade video from the dual core A8400 to the quad core 9550. I hope you really enjoyed this video. There will coming more of these, let's say, retro PC building videos, testing video. I have a lot of great ideas coming up, so if you are new to the channel, consider subscribing. It would be great to have you in the Wake Up family, and I will see you in the next video.